Hey YouTubers, so today we're going to change the chain and sprockets on the KLR, and to do this you have to have a chain breaker tool. This serves a couple of different purposes. Number one, it's going to help you to get the chain that's on there off, and then number two, it's going to press the master link together on the new chain. So this this chain breaker kit that I got is a Stockton tool company. It's sold by Cycle Gear, and right now you can get it on sale for 30 bucks. This is normally a $90 chain breaker kit. You do have to buy something else to get the $30 deal, but you can buy anything. They have neon vests in a sale bin for 49 cents. You could buy one of those, and then they would give you the $30 deal on this. So I bought some air filter oil, but just because eventually I'll need it. So I tried to buy something that I needed instead of something that I don't need, like a sticker or a neon vest. So the sprockets, when we put these on, I'm gonna do kind of a comparison to the old sprockets that I'm taking off. They have 15,300 miles on them. They are the original sprockets that came on the bike. So we'll see what 15,000 miles does to the sprockets, and I'll also show you the reason that I'm replacing the chain. Let's just show you that now. So as you can see, this chain has kinks in it, and it's really bad. What happens is, as a chain gets old, it doesn't flex as well at the bearings, and they'll start to kink like this. And if you ride on this too long, eventually it'll snap, and that will cause big problems. You may possibly even get hurt very badly. So definitely time to change this chain. So let's get to it. So the next thing we'll do is remove the cover over the front sprocket. That's going to require a 10mm socket. And on the top bolt, you're going to need an extension. And on the left one, you will as well. Now we can get to the nut that's holding that front sprocket on. We'll need to remove that. We're going to need a 27mm socket for this, and a good sized breaker bar like this here. And what we want to do is we're going to hop on the bike and depress the back brake as hard as you can, and then we'll just undo that nut there so we can get that front sprocket off. Alright, brake is depressed over here. As you can see, it's on there pretty good. Probably a lot easier with two people. There we go. Okay. So now that we got that nut off, we can go ahead and take the axle out of the back wheel, and once that's out, we can push the tire forward a little bit to give the chain some slack, which will make it easier to, as a matter of fact, we'll take the chain off of the back sprocket. and that'll give us the slack that we need to get that sprocket out of it. Takes a little bit of effort, but it'll come off. There we go. Okay, let's compare these sprockets. Let me grab the new one here. Let's take a look at what a 15,000 mile sprocket looks like and a new one. So there's the difference. This one is quite a bit worn. So let's see, I've got them lined up in the center there, and you can see on the top how worn it is. So that's the difference. Okay, now we can put the back axle back in to the back tire and put the chain back on, and then we'll put this front nut back on and tie that down to 72 foot-pounds of torque. Okay, so we've got the back tire back on. Okay, this is going to be the same process, tightening this down. We're going to jump on the bike and hold the brake and tighten down to 72 foot-pounds of torque with our torque wrench over here. I'm going to hop on and get it as tight as I can with this breaker bar first, and then we'll finish it off with the torque wrench. Okay, we'll take the torque wrench and just make sure that that's at 72 foot-pounds, and then we will take the back tire back off again. Okay, so now that we've got the back tire off again, we will replace the sprocket first, and then we'll put the tire back on one more time before we replace the chain. So I'm going to undo these bolts here on they're holding the sprocket on. These are these are 24 foot-pounds of torque, so you know when we put them back on with the new sprocket. But we're going to want to take these off in a cross kind of pattern. So, and you want to set your rotor on a surface that's not going to damage it too. This is a plywood surface, so that's obviously a lot softer than the rotor. It won't damage it. You want to be careful too when you're doing this. I've got like a little extension on here because you don't want to come and hit your fist on the teeth. This is the old sprocket, so it's not as sharp, but the new one will be a lot sharper, so you want to be careful of that. Okay, let's take a look at these two sprockets, the new one and the old one, and we'll see what a 15,000 mile sprocket looks like against a brand new one. So you can see a little bit of a difference there. I'm holding these so they're perfectly lined up and flush down here, and you can see a little bit of a difference there. So let's go ahead and put the new one on. And we'll torque these down to 24 foot-pounds. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is remove this chain, and an easy way to do that
I'm not going to use this chain again, so an easy way to do that is just to grind the ends of these studs off here, and then we can take our chain breaker and push the pins through. Now we can take our chain breaker and unscrew this end piece out here. This is the piece that pushes the rod through. It pushes the pin out. And then we'll drop this in here. Just one of these. Oh, sorry, before we do that, we'll put the spring on it, and then drop it in there. And then we'll put this piece back on, thread this back in there until that just comes down right next to the end there. So we'll get that rod to where it's just about to the end there, and then we'll fit this clamp around the chain right on top of one of the pins that we just ground off. And then we'll tighten the clamp down first. And then we can continue to push the pin out. Okay, so we've got one out. You can kind of see the hole here. Now we'll push the top one out. It's a little hard to get it started, but once it starts pushing through, it gets a lot easier. And you can take the wrench off, and then you can just hold it. The wrench helps to kind of get it started though. Give you a little more leverage. You can use a screwdriver for this too, to get more leverage. Another idea. Not really necessary, but you can. Alright, so we've got the chain apart. You can see that's the piece that we pushed out. And then we can put the bike in neutral, which it already is. Make sure it's in neutral. And then you can just kind of work this through here. There we go. So there's the old junker. And you can see, places like this where it's really kinked, things like that. I mean, you can still move it, but not very well. So this chain's toast, and we'll put the new one on. We're basically going to take the same process with the new one here. We're going to feed it through the top and around the front sprocket, and then back around. So we'll start with it on the back sprocket here. And I'm just spinning the back tire to kind of spin this chain through. It's just a matter of working it through. Okay, so once we get the chain wrapped around where we want it, we need to set the chain tensioners back to 0. And you can see I've already routed this bolt down to where it lines up with this notch here. That is the 0 mark. What these marks up here allow you to do is they allow you to line this up with some of these notches or a certain area in here. They give you kind of a gauge so that you can match up both sides. If both sides aren't matched up perfectly, then your back tire won't be straight. So these need to be matched up perfectly, and this is how we'll adjust the chain tension. So right now we're going to take it all the way down to 0, and then we'll put the chain together, and then we'll adjust this to where we need it to be, and we'll get to that step next. Okay, now with both sides adjusted all the way to the 0 mark there, we will put the chain together here. And the way that's done is we'll kind of put it together like that so that there is just one tooth in between. And what we'll do is we'll take this piece from the master link and we'll apply some grease to it here. Just kind of around the bottom area there on both studs all the way around. And then what we'll do is throw a couple of O-rings on here, or X-rings, whatever it came with. Push those all the way down, and then we'll apply some more grease going up the stud here on each one. And then we'll go ahead and push this through the back to join the chain. Okay, now we'll apply some more grease to the front here, all the way around each stud. And then we'll put 2 more O-rings on there. Chain came with. And then here is the other side. We'll go ahead and apply some grease to this as well. And we'll place it over top of those 2 studs. Okay, so now what we have is we have these nuts here, and these will screw on to the end of these studs. And there's a couple different kinds of chains. Some chains are going to come with a clip, and some of them will come with these nuts, and these are to assist with basically pressing this all together. And then they snap off, which you'll see here in just a minute. If you ended up with one of the chains that has the clips, what you'll do is you'll take these 2 pieces from your chain breaker kit and you will put them on like so. And then now what you can do is you can, with that set up like that, you can tighten this down on the master link to press it together, and then you can put the clip on. You don't want to overpress it or that part of the chain will get kinked. So you've got to be careful when you're doing that. Press it down a little, take it off, see if you can get the clip on. If you can't, press it down just a little more, take it off, see if you can get the clip on,
and then once you have the clip on, check it and make sure that it's not pressed too much. So that's how that kind works. But back to this kind, what we need is a 10mm wrench. And what we'll do is we'll just tighten these down. First tighten them down until they're finger tight. And then once they're finger tight, and you can't tighten them anymore with your fingers, take your 10mm wrench and turn them about 60 degrees, and then come turn the other one about 60 degrees, and back and forth until this is pressed on, until you can't turn it anymore. And then we'll take these off and we'll make sure that it's pressed on all the way. Okay, so these won't turn anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back both of them all the way off, take them off, and make sure that both pins are pressed on there. Okay, so if you can look at the instructions here, this is the plate right here, and this is the stud coming through. You need it to be all the way through, like figure 1 here. It needs to come all the way through, and then see, this one's not quite all the way through. I can see that this one is well through, so we're going to go ahead and screw the nuts on, as you can see in this next step, and not all the way down, but down to where this little break is in the threads. And then we're going to snap it off with a pair of pliers. And you're going to want a bigger pair of pliers than they show in the picture, because it's not super easy to get this off, to get this to snap off. And that's it. We have a new chain and sprocket. So now all that's left to do is adjust the slack on the chain, and I'll show you how to do that here with the tensioning bolts there. So for the chain adjustment, basically what you want to have is between the swing arm and the chain, the measurement is supposed to be right here. The measurement is supposed to be 1.5 inches, and you want a little bit of play in it so it has some room. You don't want it solid tight, because that would be bad. So to achieve that perfect adjustment, you just adjust the tensioner screws here right on the back of the swing arm, which pulls the tire back, and just make sure that it's identical on both sides so that your back tire is straight. And that's all there is to it. Pretty simple, really. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe if you're new, like if you like it. God bless, and we'll see you next time.